Ma'am, we're looking for a yes or a no here. Okay. Okay.
How about eat my ass? How about that? Did that work for you?
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
There can be only one!
And joining us again, the podcaster with 1,000 potions, Mikki.
You have the manners of a goat, and you smell like a dung heap.
Okay. I've been told that several times. And last but not least, the podcaster packing heat, Tony 2.0. What's up, Tony?
Crude and slow, clansman. Your attack was no better than a child's.
Was that before they almost kissed or after? Okay, here we go. This week, we will be discussing the 1986 fantasy action movie, Highlander, directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Gregory Whidden, Peter Bellwood, and Larry Ferguson.
What?
Starring...
Robert Rodriguez didn't direct it.
I'll have to take your word for it.
You didn't take
It's
that
the guy
part out.
Russell Mulcahy.
You didn't take that part out of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oops.
Maybe he...
that was
I heard
2
that he
weeks ago.
consulted on this movie.
He was like
Unfortunately,
6. He was 6.
Unfortunately, he was only 9 years old, but hey, he's very
He was
into it.
9 years old, he says. Okay, so strike Robert Rodriguez from that list. It was written by Gregory Whidden and Peter Baldwood, and Larry Ferguson. Okay. The movie is starring Christopher Lambert, Roxanne Hart, Clancy Brown, and Sean Connery. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers and
And
misinformation.
a lot of stupidity.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Then come back and listen to the podcast. Okay. So no matter where you are listening to the podcast, we ask you, please give the show a like, a follow, a subscribe, a comment, whatever it is. Just do it. Exactly.
Do it.
These things are small things. Tony just wrote this up. These things are small things, but they add up. And your interaction helps the show get in front of more people and helps us grow.
You're
Thanks.
so
Right. We want to be masters
We
of
want
the
to be
algorithm.
masters of the universe. Okay. Little story I want to share with you two, and I want to see what you would have done. So this is a what would you have done story. So Gwen and I went to the casino, and we took gummies. And while we were there, I was like, holy shit, they opened a Wahlburger. So we went over to Wahlburger, and we both ordered these chicken sandwiches. And
Wait a minute. You went to Wahlburger and didn't get a burger?
I don't eat red meat. If I did, it would have been a burger.
Well,
but if
good, more for me.
I had to settle for the fried chicken sandwich. So I got which is
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg's favorite. So I got the Marky Mark
Oh,
chicken
yeah.
sandwich. Yeah, kid. Hey, say hi to your mom for me, all right? So anyway, we order the sandwiches. I go to the table we're going to sit at. It's filthy. So I take a napkin and I just kind of wipe all the food off it and whatever. So our food comes. We sit down. Take a couple of bites of this chicken sandwich. I'm like, God damn, the pickles are good. Like, these pickles were really good. Like, I was like, how good are these pickles? He's like, so good. So it's probably
Now,
like
granted,
maybe-
we were high.
Yeah.
High.
Yes. So I popped the top off my sandwich because I wanted to see what kind of pickles these were. I'd eaten like 2 bites. There were like 4 pickles. I had like down 2 of them. And as I flipped the top off, the 2 pickles fall off and land on the dirty table. So this is where...
Motherfucker. 5-second rule.
So I quickly picked them up and ate them. And then I went, oh my God, that table was so dirty. And then I go, can you imagine if you could look at this table under a microscope, what's going on? I go, imagine if you could see the last 3 mutants that ate here, like drooling on this table. And then I just imagined, like, I peeled these pickles off this table. Oh, they were like, would you have eaten the pickles, Mikki? Yes or no?
Me? No fucking way.
You didn't have to answer so quickly. You make me feel like a
Pussy.
real tard.
Tony would.
Tony, would you have eaten the pickles?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Okay.
5-second rule. That's proven science, baby.
Okay. What if somebody was like chopping up fentanyl on the table? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, well, nice casino you go to where they chop up fentanyl on the table.
Ah,
Come
I
on, you
told
gotta have a
him-
little faith, bro.
I told him that there's plenty of vinegar and salt
Yeah.
on that thing, that it probably took care of
Yeah.
anything.
Let's do some opening thoughts on this one. I will get us started. So I saw this movie one time in the 80s. I remembered loving it, but do I still love it? Let's find out. Tony, have you seen the movie before preparing for the podcast?
I have. It
And-
was similar to your experience. I saw it right after it came out. I think it was one of those like drive-in double features, and it was the second film because it wasn't the primary. It was probably in 87 or so. So it had been out for a little bit, and liked it better than what I went to see, and was kind of blown away. And I still like it. It's cheesy and it's got weird stuff to it, but it's still I think it holds weight and it's still valid.
And Mickey, had you ever seen the movie before preparing for the podcast?
Multiple times.
Okay.
I don't remember when I first saw it, but I know I've seen it multiple times and loved it. Any movie that starts off with Queen like that is gonna just kick ass.
Mhm.
I don't know if I love it as much now. I think, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
I have, yes. Short answer, yes. I've seen it multiple times.
Awesome. Fill in. Have you seen it before preparing for the podcast?
Yes, I've seen it many, many times. This was a staple of the Rocky crowd. So I have seen it many, many times. And I had not watched it in some time. And some of it I was... it's funny because now that we do the podcast and we watch things to pick them apart, and that's part of what we're doing, I definitely see themes in movies that I love that they didn't age so well, let's say, or they don't work for me anymore as much as they used to before. And we'll get into it some more, but that's where I'm at.
Ma'am, we're looking for a yes or a no here. Okay. Okay.
How about eat my ass? How about that? Did that work for you?
Oh, Jesus.
So, there you go.
Okay. We're going to have to laugh after the podcast for that, but you got it.
Otherwise, we'd have to rename it.
Hey, have you ever eaten that ass?
Shamefully, I'm going to have to answer yes. Okay. Let's...
Wow, that was a door we've opened and now cannot close.
Oh shit. Okay. Let's do some facts on this one.
That should be the opening line.
Woo! Tune in. Okay. Opening fact. I've got director Russell McCauley started off his career.
Mulcahy.
Okay.
Mulcahy.
Listen, tomato, who cares?
Wouldn't be Des if he didn't screw up the names.
He started his career off making music videos, including the very first video ever showed on MTV by the Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Killed the radio star.
He also directed
Nice.
many videos for the great Duran Duran, including Hungry Like the Wolf, The Wild Boys, Is There Something I Should Know, Save a Prayer, The Reflex, Rio, and Planet Earth. So he basically did all their videos.
Did all their hits. Yeah.
He also did Spandau Ballet's True and The
Spandau
Vapors
Ballet.
Turning Japanese. So there you go. That's what I got, ladies and
Love
gentlemen.
that song.
Woo. So Lynn, you got any facts on this one?
I do. So Sean Connery only had a week to do all of his parts, and he said to Mulcahy, there's no way we're going to get this done in a week. And so there was a bet. He said, if we can get it done in a week, I'm going to pay you $1 million. And they got it done in a week, and Sean Connery made $1 million for 1 week of work.
Yeah. I can't believe it took him a whole week. Do either of you guys have any facts on this?
You stole my fact that I had. Well, you didn't steal it, but you used it. So
Well, you
the
can
Duran
back on
Duran
her.
video.
Nice job, Mickey. Okay. Okay, with a box office budget of $16 million and a whopping box office gross of $13 million, this movie sucks. Yeah, didn't do well, but it did achieve a huge cult following on VHS. I didn't know you could pack that much tape into a little VHS tape. You would imagine you would need. Maybe it was one of those like double box sets. I don't know. This movie was long.
It was not. Stop it. Also, the fact that they ended up making a show called The Highlander, and I don't know how many seasons it got, but it had some relative success.
Yeah.
So there was something there.
Yeah. There was something.
This
There
was that.
something there.
This was that slow burn kind of film because I don't think it got huge like theater production when it came out. I think it was very like indie theater or whatever.
Okay. Let's do the Fast Five. Fast Five. This week's Fast Five is 80s heartthrobs. Who was cooler? Not who was better looking. Who was cooler? Number 1, Matt Dillon or Rob Lowe. Tony, who was cooler?
Much as I want to say Rob Lowe was probably going to be Matt Dillon. He was a badass.
And Dillon, who was cooler?
Matt Dillon.
Mickey.
Cooler and better looking Matt Dillon.
The correct answer is Matt Dillon because he played Rusty James.
Oh, should have known that one.
Okay.
I saw that coming.
Number 2, Charlie Sheen or Emilio Estevez. Mickey, which one was cooler?
Cool. I gotta go with Charlie.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Tony.
Winning. Charlie Sheen.
And Dillon.
Yeah. Emilio Estevez
Exactly.
was a dork. So I'd have to go Charlie.
Yes. Correct answer is Charlie Sheen. Come on. Number 3, Robert Downey Jr. or Judd Nelson. Dillon, who's cooler?
Does it have to be back then or can it be all time?
It can be all time.
Robert Downey Jr.
And Tony, who's cooler?
No way, it's Judd Nelson. I actually got a chance to meet and drink some serious cocktails with him, and he is far and away one of the best people in Hollywood.
Awesome. I love that story. And Mickey.
I gotta say RDJ.
The correct answer is 100% Judd Nelson. He was fucking John Bender. Come on.
That's
No
right.
one was ever cooler than John Bender. John Bender is the coolest, okay? He's like,
You know what I got
me
for
down.
Christmas? I got a carton of cigarettes.
Yeah. What does that look like? It looks about the size of a cigar, doesn't it? Look at it. Okay. Cigar burn on his arm. Go
Yeah.
watch the movie. Number 4, Tom Cruise or Johnny Depp. Dillon, who's cooler?
Tom Cruise is a dork. Johnny Depp is cooler.
Okay, Mickey, who's cooler?
Johnny Depp, and I have a funny story for you after.
Okay, Tony, who's cooler?
Yeah, far and away Johnny Depp, and the Amber Heard trial proved that 100 times over.
Yeah, Johnny Depp's the balls. No contest. Oh, shit. Tom, poor Tom with his big
Anyway.
tooth.
Yeah.
His gigantic tooth in the middle of his face.
But you know what's funny?
Okay.
I like his movies though.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good with Tom Cruise. All right. Number 5, and the final question is John Cusack or Christian Slater. I'll save you for last, Mickey. Dillon, who's cooler?
Christian Slater.
Tony,
Heathers.
who's
Heathers.
Tony, who's cooler? Wait, you're screaming Heathers out like it's fucking Rumblefish. No, Tony, who's cooler?
I'm gonna say it's got to be Slater as well, but it's a
Okay.
battle of dorkiness, but it's Slater by your nose.
Mickey, who's cooler?
John Cusack. I fucking love him so much.
Okay, not the question.
He's fucking cool.
So you're going with John Cusack. I can't believe
Yes.
it. I actually put Slater in there to trip you up. I'm sure you were going to
Yes.
go to bat after the True Romance episode, but you're going John Cusack. Correct answer is John Cusack because Christian Slater is a goofy little midget. Okay. All right. That's it. I think we
I
did.
love Christian Slater, but
Yeah.
John just sneaks out in front of him.
That guy's a fucking lollipop kid. Let's be honest. Okay. Jesus Christ. Let's just do this thing. Let me give you guys a quick synopsis. An immortal Scottish swordsman must confront the last of his immortal opponents, a murderously brutal barbarian who lusts for the fabled prize, which is an unbelievable letdown at the end of the movie. Like, this is the prize? This is the prize. So basically, I
It was going to
am
be a big
living
trophy or something.
like I've got the prize. Like basically, he just gets to be me now. Like 40-year-old guy, like waiting for the fucking cold grip of death, married to some woman that can't stand him. Great, you won.
Is that really so bad?
Congratulations.
Come on.
And like, who cares? What if the Krugen did win? So what? Now he's
Because-
immortal. Okay.
No, if the Kurgan won, he would be able to influence everybody because he could influence leaders and turn everything into war and terribleness.
Sure.
That was the point.
He was like the first influencer.
All right, let's move
Yeah,
on.
except he's able to read their minds.
Holy shit. Okay, let's get into this. Delin.
All right.
Break
So-
it down.
We're going to be definitely jumping around in time a little bit, so bear with me. I'm going to do my best. In 1985, a man named Russell Nash is attending a wrestling match at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Looking somewhat forlorn, he feels compelled to leave. As he heads to his car, Nash is confronted by a man named Iman Fasil. Fasil identifies Nash by his real name, Connor McLeod, and challenges him to a duel. Connor reluctantly accepts and draws a katana. After a fierce sword fight, Connor decapitates Fasil and is enveloped by a mysterious energy which destroys several cars around him. He quickly hides the sword in one of the light racks hanging from the ceiling. Before he can leave the garage, he is arrested by the police who take him in for questioning. The story then goes back to Scotland 1536, where an 18-year-old Connor is seen with his fiancée Kate and his war-weary cousins Angus and Dougal. Their clan is preparing for war against their longtime rivals, Clan Fraser. So a few things. I couldn't figure out why McLeod was at the wrestling match in the first place. I suppose they had a great idea for a fight in a parking garage and they wanted to make it happen, but it was just, they could have done that without him weirdly sitting silently in the middle of a packed, Madison Square Garden. It was a little strange.
All right. I disagree with you. So the wrestling match was a great way for the director to explain to us quickly with a flashback memory that he was 400 years old and part of something that revolves around sword fighting. And they also teased the Krugen in this opening scene. So this all worked for me. And I was actually excited for a minute because I thought, okay, they're going to do what I got last week with the Mummy. And they're going to explain things to me with like quick narrations and like really great flashbacks and flash forwards, which the Mummy did, which kept the story moving along quickly. But unfortunately, no, we're not getting that. Movie kicks in, Queen, like you guys said, we get this narration from Sean Connery, and I'm getting excited. I'm like, this is great. What I read though was that Sean Connery, like literally they wanted to do this and he just like didn't want to go to the studio, whatever. So he recorded this in a bathroom just to get that kind of echoey sound and just banged it out and was like, that's good enough. And they're like, oh, we really like the producer. He's like, that's good enough. So they just took it.
I suppose when you're Sean Connery, you get away with that kind of stuff.
Right. These opening shots of the wrestling match were not shot at Madison Square Garden as it was stated in the movie. This is actually shot at Brendan Byrne Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And they did that because they originally wanted this scene to be shot at an NHL game and they were going to use the Devils. But the NHL didn't want to be linked to a movie that was so violent, which is like, it's the only American sport where they allow people to, bare knuckle fight. I mean, last but not least, so the immortal that McLeod kills in the parking garage, he's played by Peter Diamond, who was the stunt coordinator for the movie, and he actually did all those backflips. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat.
Which were really, no offense, those were over the fucking top. Like, I was watching this last night going, is that really fucking necessary? I loved the shot when they were through the sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was such a cool shot. But I do think like it was weird. Like the guy he was fighting, in one scene, he's acting like an old tired man that can't do it. And the next scene, he's doing 20 backflips across the parking garage. Why didn't he just run? Like, why did he have to backflip?
Yeah.
I don't understand the backflipping.
It was
He's
odd.
got style.
Yeah, it was odd. Mickey, you nailed it though. That fucking shot in the sunglasses, I forgot to write that down. It's the best shot in the whole movie. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
It's like
so awesome.
It's clever. Yeah, super clever. Oh, one more thing. Can I ask you guys? Wait, guys, did you notice this weird scene in the very beginning when the wrestlers come in, right? And the one wrestler gets up on the ropes and he rips his shirt open and they cut to like a 10-year-old girl. She like licks her lips. It's so fucking
It's so weird.
Okay, so you saw
It's
it
so
too.
weird. Yes.
Oh
I saw
God.
it and I was like, what is that?
I'm like, what is that? She's like 10. It was fucked
It
up.
was weird.
Okay.
All right,
It
sorry,
was
Tony,
weird.
go ahead.
So if I can go back to that, I think McKay does a cool job as far as his use of the shot with the glasses. By the way, I actually thought the glasses were a little much. Who gets into a sword fight with like mirrored teardrop aviator style glasses? But they come in handy because they come off and you see that shot in them. Plus, he loves light and shadow. He uses the rain and smoke and fog. And the best part too is when it's raining, there's no sound of rain because he wants you to just concentrate on what the hell's going on the screen. And although Queen is awesome, it's weird the way they deploy sound and music in the film because it's not when you think it would be to like accentuate certain scenes. It's just for like background noise sometimes. Like when
Yeah.
he's driving the Porsche up the garage way to get stopped by the cops, we're jamming Queen. But when he's in the middle of the fight, no, we're not doing any sound whatsoever. It's just clang, cling, and it's kind of odd. But that's Mulcahy's shtick, and that's what he does. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right, Dylan, let's roll it on.
All right. Detectives Moran and Garfield are attempting to interrogate Connor. Garfield loses his cool and assaults Connor. This incident, coupled with a lack of evidence, results in Connor's release. Forensic expert Brenda Wyatt is intrigued by Facile's sword, as it is very valuable historical artifact, probably worth over $1 million. Later, Connor returns to the garage to retrieve his katana, but before he does, he sees that Brenda is looking at the crime scene again. She finds some metal shards embedded in a nearby concrete column and saves them for analysis. The scene returns to the Highlands, where the armies of the Clan Fraser and Clan MacLeod are preparing to battle each other. Clan Fraser's leader, Chief Murdoch, has taken on the services of the Kurgan, an imposing mercenary in black leather armor and a skull helmet. The
So
Kurgan
good.
tells Murdoch that he wants to kill Connor on the battlefield and that nobody else should fight him. The battle begins, and Connor, who has never been in a battle before, is very scared. He soon finds that nobody wants to fight him, but eventually the Kurgan finds him and easily defeats him by stabbing him in the chest, shouting, "There can be only one!" Dougal and Angus see that the Kurgan is preparing to decapitate Connor and attack him, forcing him to retreat. Connor is taken back to the village, but is so badly wounded, everybody assumes he is going to die, and he receives his last rites. So this is the first time we see the Kurgan. He is an outstanding villain. Clancy Brown is so good in this role. He's so menacing. Just the voice, the hair, the everything. He's so good. But he's funny at the same time. Like there's parts of this movie where he's friggin' hysterical.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough about the good things that he did in this role.
Yeah, they always shot the actor. They shot Clancy from down low to make him look taller and to make him seem more menacing. They wanted to
It
do
worked.
they wanted to do more makeup on him and more prosthetics, but he actually played Frankenstein in the movie before this and had a really bad allergic reaction to the latex. And they didn't want to chance that happening again. So the makeup is actually scaled way back from the original ideas. Um, so we definitely need to address the police here in these opening scenes and the use of the word faggot. I mean, for me, it was really shocking. It was delivered with such hate and it just like it cut through like a dirty pickle. You know, so good I'd eat a dirty pickle. So this section here where we get the introduction of the metallurgy expert Brenda, I did like her as all right, so I liked her, but I thought it was a mistake making her a love interest. I wish they had kept her more of a vehicle to explain things about immortals and their weapons and methods and kind of like deepen that part of the mystery for us as viewers. Like she starts kind of giving us the like taking us on this journey with her instead of being this boring love side story that really slowed down the pace of the already fucking long movie. The director, in my opinion, should have took the time that he spent with all of this exposition between her and the love story and the police and all this bullshit. They should have added 2 or 3 more immortals to the New York Quickening, which only had 4 immortals, which wasn't even close to enough. And there was only really one interesting one, which it was really bland in that department. I wish they had focused more on the tournament and less on all the stupid police investigating and this super fucking lame love story between him and her. But I did like the Krugen. I like that he easily beat McLeod in this opening scene. And it led us to some very strangely intimate training montages with John Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. At the end of this, did you think that they were going to kiss? Because I really did. Like, I was like, they're going to kiss. They're going to kiss. Like, cut just before it happened. It was weird. Mickey.
First off, so the scene when Clan McLeod is riding into battle, that's actually filmed at Eileen Donan Castle, which is not where he said he's from. It's actually I forget where he said he was from, but it wasn't where that castle is. That castle is like a little north of that.
It's
but anyway,
Glenfinnan, Scotland.
Really fucking cool
awesome.
castle, and I'm actually going to see it in October. The first shot of the Kurgan, like on the hill on his horse with that. Oh my God. Like every once in a while you see a bad guy and he just like, you're like, oh, like he's so bad. He's good. You know what I mean? Like he's just so fucking badass. And that was the Kurgan. Clancy Brown played him. I cannot think of anyone else that could do that role like that. I really can't. Like I was racking my brain just for shits and giggles trying to think about if I did the recasting couch with him. I couldn't. There's no one else I could think of to do that.
I mean, the only person that would even come close is if it was like a less attractive Peter Steele from Typo Negative.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Fucking Danzig.
He'd be like this big.
Short
great
Kurgan.
job.
Talk about
It's all the way you film him, man. It's all the way you film him. Put the camera low, make him look tall.
Have to film him from the basement. Holy shit.
But that the woman Brenda, she was like, I said to Tony last night, she's the quintessential like basic 80s chick with the lip gloss and the feathered kind of wavy hair that was probably 25 but looked 45. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they just
Yeah.
yeah. She was like, I feel like if they're gonna make a love interest, then I don't know.
It didn't work. The love interest didn't work.
Yeah.
It slowed this pace
Well,
down.
no offense too. I mean, Connor McLeod was not like I know I would have expected someone more dynamic.
Yeah. Well, he
Then-
couldn't speak a word of English 6 weeks before shooting, so he did the best he could.
Really?
Yeah, the actor did not speak English.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did not speak any English, so a lot of times he's just, it was fine in Scotland. In those scenes, I was fine with it, but when he was in New York, it was like, what's going on here? Mickey, I couldn't agree more, though. The Krugen is one of those, like, it's Darth Vader. It's incredible. It's incredible. And the movie had a ton of potential. It just didn't follow through for me. Tony, what do you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely will agree with you guys. I think that there could have been a lot more development of the sci-fi aspect of this film. Unfortunately, when you have a guy who's not known for directing movies, he's using like a shell of what a film should be, and then he's adding this other junk into it just to fill up space.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
like
the
all
kind of thing where,
Flash.
dude, make a commitment to what this film is. It's a suspension of reality. There's no need for Lambert to have a love interest, even though she's kind of a cool chick and he's kind of a cool guy and great, they're going to get it off. But that's not the point. The point is, like you said, give me 3 or 4 more interesting immortals.
Yeah.
Because I want to know more about what all this is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get Sean Connery, and although you only get him for about 7 minutes in the movie, he gives you this whole spiel about who he is and what he is and how he works, and he's trying to teach Lambert, and he's got to give him the fucking Reader's Digest version of how to be an immortal because this guy's such a dope, he doesn't know shit from the side of a barn. And then the worst part is that, he dies this early death, if you will, with the Kurgan because he's just some 18-year-old dipshit who doesn't know, why won't anybody fight me? It's like he's confused. So then he buys it with like the first swing of the sword. This guy's supposed to be a great swordsman. So it's a little confusing, but it does pick up and it does get a little bit better. And it's the idea that, like you guys have gone over, the Kurgan is he's awesome. I mean, he's awesome, and not one word, but full of awe. his costuming is incredible. His his features, even the way he speaks, Clancy Brown's voice is just so good because it's heavy baritone, and he just commands the screen when he's on it. And even to the point where I think they picked Arnold Schwarzenegger's character as the Terminator in the first movie from this, because he's wearing like 80s punk clothing with metal chainmail and leather gloves and leather pants, and he's just a piss pot. You know what I mean? He's just a 6'4", 260-pound piss pot. And when he's in the car, of course, it's like this 70s Cadillac, the size of a fucking, I don't know, what the hell would you say? Like a
It's a boat.
yeah, like an aircraft carrier. Exactly. Thank you, Dylan. You hit it. He's like a child. He's like a laughing. You ever played chicken?
Yeah.
And he's like, woo, he lets go of the wheel, and he's just having a blast. And she is literally passes out from fear because she's so awestruck by his presence. And I almost wanted to rename it. Instead of naming it the Highlander, fuck it, name it the Kurgan. He steals the show.
I mean, it's honestly, it's a thing like in Blade Runner where, the quote unquote villain took over and did a better job than the person that's in the main role, if you ask me. And I don't dislike Christopher Lambert. It's just Clancy Brown was that much better.
Yeah.
There was a 5 rewatch movie in this idea, but they just strayed away from this amazing story. They start like, if this movie had been about a quickening in New York and immortals fighting, it would have been amazing. It wasn't. That was the smallest part of the story once we got to New York.
And really too, when I think of the concept of the gathering, it should be awesome. It should be like something out of a Bruce Lee film where they all go to the island. To fight, and there's like 30 fighters.
Thank you.
And they're all there with all their garb, whatever period they're from.
Fuck yeah.
And it should be more of like Kumite, not this goofy one-on-one here and there where they're chasing each other.
Yeah, it was like Dragnet. It was like this New York fucking crime fucking police story with a little bit of like the quickening sprinkled in.
And as you mentioned too, the cops in this film are they're like the Keystone fucking cops. They're a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, they get in a fist fight with the guy because he can't take it when Lambert blows a little sunshine up his ass. It's like, you picked the wrong profession, dude. Yeah. Go, I don't know, sweep up the subway or something. You're in the wrong job title because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
All right, Dylan, let's keep going.
All right, we learned that Connor, in his assumed Russell Nash identity, is an antiquities dealer and seems to be quite wealthy. A pretty older woman named Rachel is his assistant. Later, the Kurgan, now wearing punk-style clothing and an ugly healed gash across his neck, drives into the city after hearing of Fasil's death. He takes up residence at a seedy motel and assembles his sectional sword. Connor follows Brenda to a bar where they strike up a conversation and Brenda becomes interested in him. They both leave and Brenda tries to follow Connor, but he is attacked by the Kurgan. I'm calling him Krugan now, like you.
It's fine.
It's your fault. They fight, but Connor is at an obvious disadvantage because he doesn't have a sword. Brenda gives him a pipe to defend himself, but it's an uphill battle. Luckily, the fight is interrupted by a police helicopter and everybody flees. Back in the 1500s, Connor has made a remarkable recovery and is now back to normal only a few days after everyone thought he was going to die. While he's happy to be alive, his friends ostracize him. Kate says that his recovery is the work of the devil. Most everybody in the clan mirrors that sentiment, and eventually the townspeople form a mob, tie him to a pole, and take him out to be executed. Angus frees him, convincing the villagers to commute the death sentence in favor of exile. So this is my least favorite part of the movie, to watch these people turn on him. This is his entire life. He doesn't know anything else.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. And I also was like, geez, this woman loves him so much, and she turns on him before anyone else can. And then I actually had this like moment of like, oh, wait a second. If she did not turn on him and say, I think he's in league with the devil, they're going to say, you did this, you're a witch, and they're going to burn her.
Right.
So I was like, that was almost like her, like being like, I'm not going down for this, and calling him out first, which is kind of sad, but it's the reality of what it was like back then.
It's kind of the proactive fuck you. I got it.
Yeah. Des, what did you think?
Yeah. So when we're in this parts of these stories that revolve around the Immortals and the Krugan and the Gathering, I'm having so much fun. So we get to see Nash's apartment, And this is so great. It's the Batcave. It's fucking what I want. It's this great fantasy. It's a great apartment. Having the occupation of being this rare antique dealer, so clever. We find out a little later how he's been pulling it off for the last 400 years, and it's great storytelling, but it's just lost in this mash of other movie. Um, I was super happy to see the return of the Krugen, and unfortunately, it took too long for him to come back in, and then it wasn't enough of him when he was there. I wanted to see him slay like 8 more guys. We see Nash is still a little outgunned when he goes up against him the second time, but he definitely fares better this time with a pipe. So I'm liking it, like Tony said, it's slow burning this finale boss fight we're gonna get. Um, I thought when McLeod's family and girl turned on him, and literally started basically like stoning him, I thought it was odd because I tried to put myself in that position. Like if Delin died and suddenly came back to life the next day, would I call it the devil's work and kill her? Or would I call it a miracle and go to Pound Town? It would be the later, 100%. And here's the thing. There was no social media or news or anything in the 1500s. Nobody knew that he died. The only people that knew was the family and the girlfriend. Like they could have kept it quiet and just, I thought it was horseshit. I didn't like it.
Yeah, but you got to take into account that it's 1563 or whatever time it is, and that's probably period correct.
Yeah, I think they still believe in God, and they could have easily gone that route. Like it's a miracle. Like, no way.
Right, but you're right, Des. My difference is this. Number one, they do believe in God. That's why it's the work of the devil. You know the old story, right? You can't have God unless you believe there's a devil.
Could be a miracle, though. I would have gone with miracle and invited him to fucking dinner.
I agree with Deland. That scene was super hard to watch. I just remember every time I've seen this movie, I always really felt for him. And I hated that fucking wench that turned on him. But I guess I can see why she did it. I don't think I would ever do something like that. But I do think that the fighting, the scene with the first modern day fight scene with McLeod and the Kerrigan, I felt like it was a little sloppy. Like I feel like the some of the fight scenes could have used a little finesse in this movie. I feel like if they could make this movie now and change it up a little bit, like with the effects they have, oh my God.
Yeah.
This movie would kick ass.
Mikki, this movie straddled the line between feeling like a blockbuster and like almost like a B movie. It came in and out of focus. It just wasn't complete. Like you said, if they did this today and made it a straight up sci-fi fantasy about, just the fucking quickening and took all the other shit off the top, this would be a 5 rewatch movie. And I thought it was going to be. I really did.
Yeah.
But no, 2-hour movie, you're going to get 25 minutes of good fantasy sci-fi and fucking an hour and a half of just trash. No, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, what'd you think?
I think unfortunately the scene is hard to watch. The scenes of him kind of being ostracized is hard to watch, just because he's, you empathize, you feel for the guy. I also love Angus, who's a guy named James Cosmo, who's been in a bunch of stuff, but he basically commutes his death sentence into banishment, as a wise leader will do, and gives him an opportunity. But it's the kind of thing where, you how do we say it? It is what it is. It's 1536 or whatever the correct date was. I apologize. I don't know it, but it's the kind of thing where, sometimes you get the bear bites you, or sometimes you bite the bear. He got bit and he had to put up with it. Although the best part is you see him later on, and boy, he made a swift recovery. He's got a castle, albeit, a small one, and a wife, and he's got his goats and chickens and horses. And I'm like, shit, this dude landed on his feet. He's all right. We don't know how far it is in the future, but he done pretty good. Yeah. Not only that, but I think the next wife, Heather, much more attractive than that other no good Nick. So screw her and what you came in on, and he's in love. So he's in better straits. as the bad moral goes, sometimes things happen for a reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you the only character I cared about in the whole movie, and the only relationship that I really cared about in the whole movie was him and his wife that died of old age, and they just kept like they just
Right.
kept cheapening it over and over with McLeod being a player. It's like they should have just stuck to him being loyal to that wife that passed away, and then at the end, the prize. I'm not gonna give it away, but the prize should have had something to do with his dead wife. So
Brenda has analyzed the metal fragments and discovered them to be extremely unusual. She makes a date with Connor and they plan to meet at her apartment. Although she tries to make it seem like it's only a date, she's actually trying to entrap him. She has a cassette recorder hidden in a drawer and also has a gun just in case. However, when Connor arrives, he's immediately on to her and calls her out on this. Brenda insists that she only wants to know what's going on and that the shards of metal from Connor's sword date back several thousand years, but he tells her to stop digging and leaves. In 1541, Connor has settled in Glencoe, where he works as a blacksmith and is married to a woman named Heather. One day, they're visited by a well-dressed older gentleman in velvet and peacock feathers, because of course he is. The man identifies himself as Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. He explains that they differ from normal men. They do not age, are immune to disease, and will only die if their heads are separated from their bodies. While training Connor in the finer points of swordsmanship, Ramirez explains a long cycle he refers to as the game, where the immortals are compelled by an incomprehensible force to hunt each other down. When one immortal decapitates another, the winner receives a transfer of power called the quickening. The game is destined to continue until only a few immortals remain, triggering the gathering, where the survivors feel the irresistible pull towards a faraway land and fight until only one remains. The last immortal standing will receive the cumulative sum of every quickening, which Ramirez cryptically refers to as the prize. One night while Connor is away, the Kurgan arrives, demanding to know where the Highlander is. Ramirez lies, telling him that he's already killed Connor. The Kurgan sees through this deception and attacks. Ramirez gets the early advantage, slashing deep into the Kurgan's throat, revealing how Kurgan gets that scar and how his voice is altered later. And he also wounds him in his side. However, the Kurgan's rage and ferocity eventually wins, decapitating Ramirez before he violates Heather, thankfully off screen. Connor stays with Heather until she passes away from her old age and buries her, leaving his Scottish broadsword planted in the ground to mark her grave before leaving Scotland and his life there behind. So at one point, Des and I were discussing the movie, and he said to me, "I wish we found out what happened to Ramirez." And that just tells you how much attention he actually paid to this movie when he
dude,
watched it.
why don't you read what's in the
Oops.
script? Read what's in the script, what you actually wrote.
Yeah, I know what you wrote. You tried to change it to make it sound like I was the one that wasn't paying attention, but I know better.
Okay.
You're not going to fool
Yeah.
me, kid.
So Brenda's the metallurgy specialist, correct? Okay, so
Yes.
when
Yes.
like this whole thing with Brenda, like she was like the reporter in the Hulk. If you ever watched that TV show, like I
Yep.
didn't really need this
Same time
yeah,
period,
I
too.
didn't need this investigation by Brenda. As a viewer, I already knew the answers to all the questions she was searching for. So it was so boring. I don't give a fuck if she finds out. I already know. I've known for the last half an hour. The training montage. We're gonna see a stag with horns. So that stag, they actually had a veterinarian come on the lot, and they put that animal to sleep with a sedative, glued those horns to its head, and then tried to shoot the scene. But the thing freaked out and took off. They found it 25 miles away with the horns missing. So, like, you couldn't do that nowadays. Like, that was almost like Scrooge, where they like stapled the antlers to the mouse's head. Like, no, that's fucking mean. So I have a question here.
I think you made that stat up, but okay. I'll
No,
go with it.
no, that was real. That really happened. That's how they put those horns on that stag's head. So I've got a question here. When do the immortals stop aging? Right? Because you got like Juan Sanchez Valibos Ramirez. He looks like he's about 55, 60. McLeod looks like he's like 30. The Krugen looks like he's like 40. Like when do they stop aging? Like, how come some immortals are young, good-looking men, and others are fucking haggard old men, like the guy in the parking garage?
Maybe it's supposed to be like the vampire thing, like when they die the first time or something like that.
I wish it was
the first quickening.
explained. They didn't explain
Oh, that's a
it.
that's a good
Yeah, I mean,
thought.
it's fine. I wish they had come up with it. It's not really explained. And why do the wounds heal on the inside but not the outside? That makes no sense either. I wish they used the screen time and all the exposition addressing these things instead of like pointless police investigations. Like,
Right.
axe all that shit and fucking write the rest of the interesting sci-fi movie, and it just
I
didn't.
agree.
I love the scene with McLeod and his dying wife. I just wish they had used an old lady actress. I mean,
Yeah.
even with the wig and the makeup, she fucking looked 50. Like, she still had plenty of tread on the tire. I wasn't buying
Not
it.
It was
even.
also
She's
1500s. 1500s.
she looks she looks exactly like she's 25 with a wig and
Yeah.
makeup on. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
Like,
But
why
then
not
again,
just bring...
Des, think about it. It's a $12.5 million movie made in 1986. It's a music video that's 2 hours long. That's what it is. It's not a deep film. You're meant to just like it for what it is, or you don't. But it's the kind of thing where, unfortunately, you're right. It needs more width and breadth in a lot of scenes because they just took the easy way out and fucked it up because they didn't want to do the hard work.
But Tony, like what you said is so on the nail. It is a fucking 80s MTV video. The problem is that's the only time it's fun. And they're only giving me like a half an hour rock video in a 2-hour movie.
Right.
Like it had tons of style and flair and fun when they were doing that. But then you give me these like kind of 1979 made for TV movies and it just didn't work, man. It was so janky.
He's
Didn't
putting 10
work.
pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Yeah, I got you.
That was super sad when they were showing Heather aging, and you could see like it was tormenting him. Like
Yes.
I felt for him. There wasn't many times in this movie where I actually gave a shit about how McLeod felt. One was when he was being stoned, and the second one when his wife was aging. And I love the shot. I love the shot when the Kurgan and Ramirez are fighting, and they are going up the stairs as the castle is crumbling around them, and then they get to the very top and it's just a stairway.
Yeah.
That is such a cool shot with the sky. Here is this has always been my biggest pet peeve with this movie. Why is it set in Scotland and then you have a Scotsman come and pretend he's Spanish teaching the Scotsman?
Egyptian.
Yes, he's really Egyptian.
Why did they? I don't understand why they did that.
I don't know.
I don't understand why they did that.
Dear, I think it was more to the idea that they don't want McLeod to be a Scotsman. That's why they picked a non-Scottish actor, even though everybody in that scene around him are Scottish actors. The opposite goes for Connery. Not only that, but obviously Connery in a week had to do this role that he's on screen for 7 minutes for. So he wasn't going to be able to do the whole film anyway. I think they just wanted his star power and his abilities. Because he's not a convincing Spaniard, nor a Egyptian, nor whatever you want to make him.
No, but I mean, he is a Scotsman, so you could have made him a Scotsman that had gone to Spain and had been doing things in Spain and has now returned because his kinsman McLeod needs help. Like, why is he helping him anyways? Isn't the whole point that they're supposed to kill each other?
But here's the point. So, but here's the thing. So you're saying Juan Sanchez Velothos is this like kind of weak character, but the problem is he's the second most interesting character in the movie.
Yeah,
behind the Kurgan.
Yeah,
that's a fucking problem. Like, you can't have Sunda Kaskar be no, like, this guy just looked like a dude walking around in Central Park. I'm like, he's one of the immortals. I'm like, did he miss fucking wardrobe? Like, where's his costume, dude?
Well, he had a flask. Doesn't that count?
Okay. So he was the best man. That was his superpower.
Exactly.
Mikki, yeah. So it was tough watching McLeod watch his wife get old. The only problem is we didn't see her get old. So that was a problem. And like you said, you care about this, but then at every turn, he's fucking banging everybody. He doesn't give a shit. He falls in love on the first date every time. Fuck, the guy sucks.
All right, so Connor meets an exotic-looking man named Sunda Castigier in present-day Central Park. It becomes apparent they are longtime friends as well as immortals. They talk about how few of them are left and say the time for the final battle is close. They also discuss the possibility that one might have to kill the other. Connor and Castigier recall meeting in Boston, circa 1783. Connor's about to duel a man and is so drunk he can hardly stand up, but he still attempts to fight. The other man easily defeats Connor by stabbing him and then quickly declares himself the victor. However, Connor gets up and wants to continue the fight. The man is stunned but resumes the fight, easily stabbing Connor again. This happens over and over again until Connor gets back up and apologizes for insulting the man's wife. After much investigation, Brenda finds out that Connor should be dead. Russell Nash is the name of a baby who died at birth. She confronts Rachel, and in a flashback, we learn that Connor rescued her from the Nazis when she was a child. Rachel tries to keep Brenda away, but eventually Connor explains to Brenda who he really is. He proves it to her by stabbing himself in the stomach, because that's what you do. After this revelation, Brenda and Connor become lovers, although Connor is reluctant, is he reluctant? I don't know. And the ghostly voice of Ramirez is suggesting that he let her go, because that's what he's been telling him all along. I 100% don't understand the romance. It's shoehorned in. He doesn't go 400 years without a love interest just to suddenly fall in love with this woman with no real reason. Like, she's been nothing but suspicious of him the whole time. So how do you fall in love with her? Like, there was no, if you're going to tell me a love story, make it a love story. There's no love story here. And I would have been way more happy if they had just had it be him and Rachel. And Rachel was like his closest confidant. Like, she's been with him for what, 40 years, 50 years?
Yeah, he
You know?
raised her from like an 8-year-old. It wouldn't have been appropriate if he was banging her.
I'm
And
not saying that.
unfortunately-
No.
unfortunately,
Stop.
Think
Wait.
like Alfred and Batman.
Yes,
They're
I'm not
close,
talking
but they
about
are
banging.
not in a relationship.
I'm not talking banging.
But they allude to the fact that he has been intimate with her in this movie, and it's fucking cringing because they
Oh,
do.
I didn't see that.
Oh, they definitely do. They definitely allude to they have been intimate and had been lovers at points in her life. Yeah, weird stuff. Are you done?
I definitely did not see that, but okay. I'm done.
I didn't see that either.
Okay.
I'm done. I'm just the love story doesn't work.
You may be the only one, but I'll go with it. It's a weird relationship because she's extremely professional and he's kind of not. But yeah, I concur with Delyn too. There's no building up to this. There is no love story here. Not only that, but it's not a movie about love stories. So why are we getting into that whole concept? It just doesn't
It's a movie
fit.
all about love stories. So that's the problem here. There's so many love stories.
Well, not good ones.
There's another problem. There's so many love stories in this movie and they all suck except for one. And yeah. So, all right. So this entire section of the movie fucking blows. This was a snooze fest. Okay. So with there only being 4 immortals, this guy Sunda was terrible. This weird Monty Python flashback he has where he's being stabbed over and over by this Aristocat. It's fucking Aristocat. You know what I'm saying? Shut up. Should have been
the Aristocats. Those are great.
This entire scene should have been cut from the movie. It's so fucking dumb. It took me out of the movie. I hated it. And then this scene with Nash stabbing himself to convince Heather that he's an immortal. It was so stupid, especially since we know
Brenda,
especially since we know he's going to have permanent scars on his stomach from stabbing himself. And we've already seen he's been stabbed like 8 times. Yeah, because the scars don't heal. Look at the Kurgan's neck. The scars don't heal.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah. So
that's the least of the problems of the scene, but I like it.
But so now we've seen him get stabbed by the Aristocrat a bunch of times and himself. This guy's stomach must look like a fucking pincushion. And we see that he doesn't heal in 2 seconds like Wolverine. So then it flashes directly to them having this absolutely disgusting, sweaty, big man ass love scene. And you figure he's got to be leaking all over her while it's going on. I fucking hate this. I hate this section of the movie.
Des, you probably have the most active imagination of anyone on the planet.
Just cut these scenes. They're terrible.
Elsewhere in the city, Kirk, a gung-ho ex-Marine with survivalist tendencies, sees Kurgan and Castigier dueling in an alley. Kurgan kills Castigier and receives his quickening. Kirk, clearly freaked out by witnessing this event, shoots Kurgan, who shrugs off the injury and impales him. Kirk survives and gives the police Kurgan's description. In response, Kurgan alters his appearance by shaving his head and covering the scar on his neck with safety pin necklace. I mean, you could have just bought a scarf, but okay. Uh, Connor is at the church, lighting a candle for Heather's birthday. Kurgan enters, revealing that Castigier is dead, and now it's only he and Connor. Kurgan taunts Connor by telling him of his defeat of Ramirez and about raping Ramirez's wife, then realizing that Heather was actually Connor's wife, and she never told him what happened. Connor is furious, but is reminded of the Immortals' oldest rule. They cannot fight on holy ground. Kurgan finds out that Connor is having an affair with Brenda and kidnaps her in order to draw Connor into a final fight. Connor accepts the challenge and kisses Rachel goodbye, telling her that Russell Nash dies tonight and that she knew this day would someday come. This scene also irritated me. Now, Clancy Brown in the car is outstanding. The girl, Brenda, awful. She's supposedly like this. She works for the police. She's writing books. She's got this great apartment and she's screaming like a lunatic. First of all, you see the Kurgan waiting for you in the hallway and you don't run out the front door screaming bloody murder.
Thank you.
Thank you. You drop your books and try to get in your apartment. Are you insane? No, run, you dummy. Okay. And then just screaming in the car. Just, I don't know. She annoyed me. I feel bad. I'm sure this is a lovely woman, but the character annoyed me.
Dude, this whole vigilante scene, it was so fucking stupid. It again just didn't work. It was another missed opportunity. Why not spend the screen time introducing another immortal and giving us another battle? Like, it was fucking, I don't even know where it came from. Like, I was like, who wrote this? It's crap. It's fucking crap.
No, you're absolutely right. I would rather see a better sword fight between Castigier and the Kurgan. And then my favorite is he's got this, 5-foot long broadsword that's 6 inches thick, and he spears the guy right through his guts, and he survives after he's physically picked up and thrown against the wall. He should have been flayed open like a dead fish.
Yeah, would have severed his spine at the very least.
Yeah, apparently he's A-okay. It was just a mere flesh wound, and he's going to be able to talk to the cops 4 hours later at the hospital. I mean, the guy, it's just complete suspension of belief, and it's...
I actually got this from another podcast. There's a great point this guy made. So if a immortal gets arrested and sent to prison, it's a eternity sentence, because once everybody dies of old age, he's just going to be sitting in that prison. And we've already seen that the cops can easily arrest one of these guys. Their only defense is a sword. So it's like he gets pulled over and they link him to some of these deaths because he's driving around with a fucking giant ancient sword in the car. So it's going to be pretty obvious to fucking link him to these beheadings. What's going to happen? He's going to get sentenced to life in prison, and that's it. No, you're sneaking around the streets of New York looking for other immortals to complete the quickening. That's the way you write this movie. It's so stupid.
Can I just tell you something? The best fight scene to me was the duel in Boston.
The duel in Boston? What? Where the guy stabbing him with a sword?
I know. It was fucking funny.
It was a different movie. It was a different movie. It's a scene from fucking Monty Python. I've seen it.
Yeah, it was funny, but it's not the best fight scene. The worst part, Des, I can understand your frustration with the driving scene, but nothing personal. I thought that was some of the best comedy in the film because Clancy Brown really shows you he can act and comedically, because he's mocking her insanity and yelling and screaming, and he's just parroting her, and he's funny, and the looks on his face are fucking classic. And he's like, ooh, this is scary. And he's just having a blast at her expense. And it's perfect because he's just a piss pot. He's just a punk and a half. And he thinks it's great. And he's got this 6-block long Cadillac. And he's just going head on into traffic in New York. And it's like, hey, it's just Thursday in New York City. You know what I mean? No big deal. Beheadings.
The scene when he's in the church is just...
Oh, yeah. The way he talks to the nuns. I mean, it's hilarity. And it's the kind of thing where you're almost like, this guy is the Antichrist, and I want to cheer for him over this other schmuck who's dry as a popcorn fart and really nothing to see. But it is what it is. I think that you're right. Again, I'd rather have better character development and more to chew on for the plot line than I would, the Kurgan having fun at Brenda's expense. But I actually enjoy the scene because it's fairly well shot. You get the point. He's scaring the piss out of her, but he is comedic genius because he's such a goon. He's laughing hysterically and screaming, in irony and in sarcasm, and it's pretty tasty. But like you said, there's so much more that could have been done here. You have to ask yourself why they decided that this was the shit that made it in the movie and didn't wind up on the cutting room floor.
This is the scene from Last Action Hero. I've seen it in a bunch of stupid movies. The Kurgan, it should have been a little dark comedy in the church. It was enough to give you that little angle on him. This whole joyride, it's like something fucking Wayne's World. It was just stupid. I hated it. It was a misuse of the Kurgan. I don't want to see Darth Vader flying around with Princess Leia going, ah!
Is that a 15-yard penalty misuse of the Kurgan?
It was bad. It was a misuse of the Kurgan.
No, I agree, but I think his church scene was great. Some of the one-liners he has, some of the one-liners he has with the nuns and the priest, and the fact that he says, "Oh, I love your haircut," and he goes, "I am in disguise."
All right, moving on, going towards the end. Buckle up, everybody. The two fighters meet on the roof of Silver Cup Studios and an epic sword fight begins. The Kurgan tries to use Brenda to defeat Connor by tying her to the studio's massive rooftop sign, but Connor manages to save her. The fight causes major destruction, and both fighters fall into a large warehouse, which is surrounded by windows. After a climatic fight, Connor defeats the Kurgan and experiences the sum of all the quickenings, which destroys every window in the warehouse. The police assume that the Kurgan is the headhunter serial killer that they're looking for, and that Nash was his final victim, which I guess there's no forensics if Brenda's not doing them, so they're just like, okay. The last scene shows Connor and Brenda in the Highlands and explains that the prize gives Connor awareness of the thoughts of all people around the world and allows him to exert some influence. As a result, he can help people cooperate with one another. He is now also mortal, able to have children and grow old. Ramirez tells Connor that he now has power beyond anyone's imagination and urges him to use it well. Going back to the fight scene, they knock all this electrical shit onto the ground, and then they knock water over, so everything's electrified. That sign she would have been electrified and died. So stupid. Des, what'd you think?
So these final scenes, this fight was pretty cool. So you saw their swords sparking. Do you know how they did that?
No.
They hooked these swords up to car batteries and ran the fucking cords up their sleeves. These swords were getting so hot they could only fucking shoot for a few minutes at a time, which I thought was pretty cool. It looked dynamite.
Cool. Yeah.
So I thought the final boss fight scene between Nash and the Kurgan was super anticlimactic. I was so sick of Brenda by now. I didn't really buy this love story between Nash and Brenda at all. I didn't like the characters. They had no on-screen chemistry at all. Nothing. And it just wasn't believable as much as they rammed it down my throat for 2 hours. Now, in the Mummy, they barely even touched on that love story. And at the end, I felt it. I felt like Rick and fucking Edie were really in love. So they couldn't make it happen for me. And then to find out that the prize was you become mortal, I hated it. I hated it. But Nash won, okay? And now he's mortal and will spend the next 40 years with Brenda. It's just like great. What I was hoping it would be basically like maybe he gets to bring back the love of his life, the lost love that died of old age, and she becomes the other immortal, and the two of them can live in Scotland for eternity and have an immortal child or something. I don't fucking know. Anything's better than this ending. This ending is fucking trash. Trash. Mikki, what do you think?
I kind of agree with you. I felt like that after all the buildup with the Kurgan and McLeod / Nash, the final battle, while some of the parts were cool, it was really underwhelming. I wanted more. I don't know what I wanted, but I wanted more. It was a letdown. And no offense, I don't think Brenda's a great prize. And
No,
No.
no.
I don't know. I guess again, also too, the prize was so built up, you know, and then when he does his final quickening, and then it's like he's like, I am everything, I know everything, and now I'm just schmuck, just like everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, yeah, Mickey, like instead of becoming Gandhi, change all the leaders into like peace loving men. He's like, I'm gonna take my magic power and go to fucking Scotland with a Jersey girl with big fucking Aquanet hair. Like, no, no, you
Right.
use that fucking power to make the world better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I was a little let down. I like your idea of, you know, maybe the prize being, you could reunite with that one true love or
The
something.
one character
Something
we
better
liked.
than, huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Blossom. I just feel like, oh, so I'm immortal now and I got this chick.
yay. Yeah, and
And
Tony,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
nailed it on the head too. This final battle should have been like fucking Enter the Dragon. It should have been in like the arena on Dr. Moreau's Island in front of like, I don't know, something.
Yeah, I think they tried to make it wild and crazy with the sign coming down in pieces parts and she's tied to it and sparking things and water and this and that. I think the scene actually gets better when they both fall through that glass ceiling and they wind up on like a sound stage. But it's so obvious that this guy is a true music video director because it looks like a Hollywood soundstage for a music video. There's blue light and all these windows, and they're doing their thing, and there's nobody around, and it's just it's weak. It could have been so much better. Some of the movie is shot really, really well, and some of it is just B grade dog shit, but it is what it is. The tough part too is you either love this movie or you don't love it, and if you don't love it, that's okay. But it's the kind of thing where you let the bullshit slide because you love the concept of it, right? I don't think anyone in our modern America who is probably older than say 35 doesn't know the concept of there can be only one, because that is just fucking cinema
Right.
Right.
history, legendary.
It's pop culture. So, Tony, here's the deal. Did you guys all see Superman the movie with Christopher Reed?
Many, many years
So,
ago.
do you guys remember? So, do you remember when he gives up his superpowers so he can be with Lois? And they go to a diner and he gets his fucking ass whooped by a trucker in the diner. Gets his ass whooped. What does he do? He's like, fuck this. He goes and finds that fucking crystal and he gets his fucking powers back because he's like, being mortal blows. Let me tell you something. Had they told these fucking immortals in the beginning the quickening is all about you losing all of your powers and being mortal and dying of old age, you know what they would have said? Fights off, tournaments off. I don't want to win. I'm good.
Well,
Everybody's like, let's just live forever, right?
while I'll agree with you because it seems like it's kind of the booby prize, not a real prize. Number one, you have the Queen song "Who Wants to Live Forever" is greatly used here. Number two, if you remember, like Diary of a Vampire, vampires live forever, and it's the idea that you have nothing, you know nothing, you are like a fucking island because everything you know about dies and you don't. Everything you know about gets old and goes away and you don't. And it's the kind of thing where if you're Juan Sanchez Villalobos, whatever, he's 2,389 years old. What the fuck does this guy have worth of flying shit in his life? Other than hanging out with you know, Heather and Connor to teach Connor how to be a better swordsman and how to play this little game. So it's the kind of thing where I could see being mortal as being okay. Because you know what? It isn't so awesome being this immortal person because you have pros and cons like everything else. And if you believe that you'd rather just live a life, grow old, and die with the person you love, then great. If you don't, well, okay, being immortal, but it's got some serious downside shit to it too. Because they're really not supermen.
No, you want to live forever. Everyone wants to live forever. But I mean, I'm only 54. I'm already sick of the Lynn. By the time I'm like 90, I'm ready to like, I'm ready.
Wow.
Yeah. So then you get to start all over again. You get to live another 70 years with a new love. And then you're sick of her. She passes away and you do it again. You have some good ones. You got some bad ones. Time goes on. You live forever. You see every Super Bowl, every World Series. Dude, I want forever. You think the Krugen, you think if fucking that last battle, if they had told the Krugen, listen, if you beat McLeod, you're gonna die. You've got about 30 years left. He'd have been like, fuck this. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Let's call it a truce. No. No. If a little fucking elf walked in my room right now and said, Des, do you want to live forever? Or do you want to die, when your time comes? I'd been like, here's the pen. Where do I sign forever? Like, I'm ready to go on a little longer.
Yeah, I think if they had an idea that mortality was the prize, they probably would have went, all right, peace out. Let's just
Yeah.
avoid each
Well,
other.
and supposedly it's not the only prize. The problem is what we fixate on, because the other prizes are really fucking analogous. Knowing everything, seeing everything. How do you even, boil that down to the fucking everyday? It's left field with a hockey stick. It's too much. It doesn't
It sounds
work.
annoying.
Yeah, it's a dog
Yeah.
shit prize. I agree with you, because it's
So now I
something
got
you
to
can't
hear
even fathom.
everyone's thoughts.
What's up?
Yeah, you got to hear everyone's thoughts for eternity. I don't want to hear what everyone's thinking for eternity. Let's end this thing. Let's recast it. I would replace Christopher Lambert with fucking anybody. Mr. Jinx, my cat. I'm gonna I'm gonna replace him with Mel Gibson. It's the obvious answer. No,
Not Mel Gibson. Ewan McGregor.
even better. Even better. Even better.
Ewan McGregor.
It's Ewan
He's a
McGregor.
Scotsman. He would have been mwah.
He's the best. And you could bring in the actor to play Biff in fucking Back to the Future to be the Kurgan. Hey, Butthead.
No, you don't touch the Kurgan.
No,
Right.
Clancy Brown was fucking amazing.
No, yeah. Clancy Brown's defining role as an actor in Hollywood is this movie. No two ways about it.
This and Viking in Bad Boys.
All right, recasting. I would recast Christopher Lambert with Tony knows exactly who I'm going to say. Jetty Butler.
John Travolta.
Who?
Gerard Butler.
Hey, Jackie.
Oh,
Now here's
Hey,
the thing:
Krogan.
if they make this, let's say they're going to make this like in like present day, not 1985. Gerard Butler for Christopher Lambert. I would replace Brenda with Emily Blunt, because I really like Emily Blunt.
okay.
And then I would replace Ramirez, even though I fucking love Sean Connery. I would replace him with Antonio Banderas.
That's a better Spaniard for sure.
Antonio
Yeah.
Banderas. Tony, what do you got?
Great call, Des, because I also had Mel Gibson for Chris Lambert. I think your original call of anyone else, even a person who may be deceased at this point, could have probably done a better job. But how about this? I'll throw a weird one at you. I'm going to pick Harrison Ford for the Highlander. Excuse me, I had a brain fart there. And I'm going to change out our friend Roxanne Hart with Michelle Pfeiffer. Because if you're going to make me sleep with her, at least make her attractive and someone that's worthy. And Michelle Pfeiffer could probably take a dog shit script and make it a little bit more interesting. So,
And Tony
That's
said
what
he
I'm
wouldn't live forever, and now you're fucking Brenda. Okay, let's score this thing and bag it big time. So for me, this movie had a ton of potential. It just had too many plot holes in it. It went on way too long. It needed a 40-minute edit, and it needed a lot more of the quickening story with a lot more immortals. So my rewatch score is 2.01. It's below average, but it's still really cool. It's a love-hate. Mickey.
So there's a lot of nostalgia with this movie for me. And like I said, Queen, the movie, I mean, the music maybe didn't necessarily go with all the parts that it was supposed to, but Who Wants to Live Forever just is like
Classic.
classic. Um, and I love the concept. It just had too much. It was too noisy. It was like there was too much going on. Couple simple things. The whole police baloney, and the stuff with Brenda. Like I don't know, neaten it up or get rid of it. I give it a 2.25.
There you go. I
Okay.
like it. And Tony.
Yeah, I agree with Mick, and I think some of the things you said, Des. In the words of my friend Mr. Al Pacino, I would take a flamethrower to this movie because it just needs to be cooked a little bit better. It has so much in it that could be so awesome, and unfortunately, it got kind of schlocky and weird and stupid, but it's a solid 2.5 for me. It's right dead center in the middle.
I think these are great scores. Delin, what do you got?
All right. So, based solely on the Queen music and Clancy Brown's performance, I give it a 2.78 because
Nice.
it's a little under average or a little it's average. It's average, but the Queen score is so good and Clancy Brown is so good.
Yeah.
I can't shit on it too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a full point for Clancy, a full point for Queen, and 0-1 for fucking sword fights.
Something else.
All right, Delin, what is the score?
All right. So it came out to be 2.385.
Perfect.
Which puts it way down at the bottom. It is at number 64.
Is it ahead of Neighbors or behind
What's-
Neighbors? That's the real benchmark we
Oh,
judge
it's
it
ahead.
by.
It's ahead.
It's underneath. It's underneath. Neighbors at 62.
Okay.
Cakes and pies. Cakes and
Just
pies.
a couple lower than
Okay.
Neighbors.
Okay, so what's
Yep,
above and
yep.
beyond? What's
Right above it is Scrooged and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and right underneath it is The Fifth Element.
Oh, it's definitely better than The Fifth Element. That was trash. That movie sucked. Okay.
What?
All right. So
Communist.
that's it. It's yeah, it's so bad. Okay, so that's it. We're done. Next week we will be back with Tony, original flavor. He has no gun that I know of. Maybe he does. We're going to be doing the 1979 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with a very young Jeff Goldblum. So I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, so that's it. Until then, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.